Today we're taking a look at another frame. Does this look a little familiar? Maybe it does. This is the TC-R260. I got the 260 version because it can run 6-inch props, and I don't have any good quads that can run 6-inch props except for my ZMR250. But then I started thinking about this and thought maybe I should have ordered the TC-R220 so I could run 5-inch props and have a little bit shorter arms, but that's okay. Maybe I'll get crazy later and buy some shorter arms, but we're gonna take a look at this one today. Now, like I said, it may look a little familiar. First of all, it came in this package like this, and look at these instructions. QAV-R right there on the top of the page. And it says 6-inch, 260 frame. So the instructions call this a QAV-R. No, I don't really think it's quite a QAV-R quality, but you know, we'll see. It says 260 from motor to motor. We'll measure that a little later. And there's some other stats that it came with. So let's pull this out of the package. So here's all the parts that are included. And it comes with these little spacers here, and they got like a little bump out at the end, and then they get kind of skinny in the middle, but they're definitely aluminum. I mean, even in my hand here, they are so light, which is odd that this would come with aluminum. But here, has the main plate and it has the upper plate. And usually when you screw the arms onto a main plate, there's usually another plate that goes underneath it to help give it a little bit more strength, but this frame does not come with that. Well, one thing that's a little bit disappointing with these is you can see here the carbon fiber on these drill holes look like their drill bit wasn't quite sharp enough, and it's a little bit less on these other two, but this one definitely has some bad drilling holes in it. This other side looks fine. That's probably where the drill bit went in. But this side where it came out, it kind of pushed the carbon fiber instead of cutting it out of the way. And these two, it's not quite as bad on these two. And the other sides, you know, these sides are near perfect, but like I said, it's probably because the drill bit went through the side. But, you know, that's what you get for paying what you pay for this frame. I've really come to like the idea of a single main plate. And you know, people say, well, if you crack an arm, you can't just replace it. Well, it's really not that hard to replace the whole thing, but it does take probably about 40 minutes or so. These arms are really cool, and whoever came up with this design is really smart. It has these little pieces here that hold that connect to these two different screws. That way you don't have to have washers up here to hold that in place while you screw the screw in on the bottom. Also up here on the top, it has this little X shape right there, and that's also so you don't have to hold the screws from down below. And if you were to get a frame like this, you could ideally, if you actually thought you would break this arm, you could have an extra arm ready at a race with another motor on it, another ESC, and be able to swap it out pretty quick. And I believe the original makers of this frame actually had a quick connect setup where you could plug wires in and pull them out and pull the whole arm off, put a new arm on, and you're ready to go. These middle pieces here, these double things, the outside one is just to hold the bottom of the arm on, but this one is a little bit thicker, and it's designed to hold the NAES 32 board or CC3D board or F3 board up here on top of those three, and it just makes for a nice mounting place there already with, you know, it's already built in. On the bottom of the frame here, you can see the screw patterns, and really all three of these arms are the same. It's just a matter of which side goes up, because this one just flips over and it lays up here and it fits there. So if you had arms ready for a race, you'd have to have two of them ready, or be ready to move the motors and ESCs off one side over to the other side, depending on which arm you broke. But yeah, you'd probably be better off having two motors and two arms ready. So here with all 6 posts in place, you can kind of see how the distance here is pretty short. And the distance from here back to the back is a little bit longer. Well, I don't think it's too long because it should, well, I just don't think it's too long. But usually what happens is you put the battery up on top, and if in a crash, that battery's going to push a lot of weight down on this top plate. And so you don't want this distance to be too long, which is like why frames like the ZMR250, they have 4 posts along either side. But this distance here isn't too long, and with the battery, hopefully you'll have it sitting up here a little bit over top of this post to help, you know, hold some of that weight of the battery in a crash, because you'll probably want it centered up over top of your flyboard, so it'll probably sit right here in this area. On my LS210, what happens is the battery sits mostly back here in this open space, and so when it crashes, back here in the back of the top plate right here is usually where it ends up cracking, and I've had a couple other people tell me theirs cracked in the same place. So here it is fully assembled, and it has a few extra 10mm screws. That's good in case you actually lose them. But this is what the frame itself looks like, and it has these side plates where you're supposed to be able to mount in your HS1177 or any kind of camera that mounts on the sides. And I'll measure those to see what the distance is between those to make sure that your camera would fit. And I put some screws in here where it'll hold the Naze 32 board or the flight controller. Now it came with this camera mount, and it's supposed to slide into this hole here, but it's just a little bit, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just a little bit too wide to actually fit into the hole. So if you wanted to use this mount, you'd have to take it and shave off a little bit off up here and a little bit over here to try to get that thing to be able to fit down in there. But I don't plan on using it, so it's not that big of a deal. But let's go ahead and get some measurements on this and the weight off of it, and we'll see how it comes out. A little bit of time with the metal file made those things fit right in there. I just had to shave off just a little bit off each of these sides up here on the top and on the bottom because it was tight on both of them. But it fits in there perfectly, and it gives you about, I don't know, it's at a 35 degree angle or so, or 40 maybe. But it has plenty of room when you're looking up like this to be able to see out of that camera without, hopefully, not having to look at these side plates here and have those in your view the whole time you're flying. So here's just the frame, and it comes out to be 129.2 grams. So these should be 4mm arms, so let me go ahead and measure these, and 4.2, pretty good. Check this one. 4.04, not bad. One more, just for 4.05. So it has 4mm arms, which is what you kind of want for 6-inch props. If you're going to be running 5-inch props, 4mm might be a little overkill. Usually 3mm does fine. And I said that I think this isn't going to be strong enough, but man, I tell you what, with the 3 screws in there holding this in on each of these arms, I don't see any flex in this at all. So I'm not worried about having the extra plate up here. It would be nice, but I don't think it's really necessary. So here's a 5-inch prop, and we can see that this thing easily clears here. You can even have your hands holding this, and it can spin 5-inch props and not hit your fingers. Here's the 6-inch prop. The 6-inch prop goes a lot closer, but again, you still have about, I don't know, 7 or 8mm there of clearance before it hits the post. And going to the front, if I put this here, center it on the hole there, you can see it goes to about here, and if I try not to move the frame and put it up here to the front, you can see that there's a little bit of clearance between the props. So even if your props are a little bit extra long, you shouldn't have any problems with them tapping together and clicking. So this is called the TC-R260, and if we measure this, we can see here the actual measurement on this arm is 254 millimeters, 255 millimeters. So it's really like a 255, not a 260. So kudos to them for measuring it correctly and giving it a good name. Okay, from left to right, the distance between the motors is about 200 millimeters, and from front to back, it's about 160. So it's a little bit wider. It's a little bit wider than it is long, and that's okay, I guess. I think the industry as a whole is going to start going to where the front to back is a little bit longer and the side to side is a little bit closer, but apparently we're not there yet because this is what we're getting. And I think that's not really a negative thing, it's just my own opinion, but I like this frame. These arms are cut out to where they can hold 1806 motors across here, or they can use the 2200 series with using these 4 separate holes. Now, if you're going to buy this frame, you're actually going to need some 7mm screws. You're going to need 4mm to go through the frame, plus about 3 more to go into the motor. On the bottom plate here, it has a hole down the middle where you could put a camera mount in there if you have one that mounts in the middle. It also has 2 holes here you could use for mounting a camera if you have one that mounts like that, but I haven't seen one. Back here in the back, it has 2 holes right here, and these are usually for zip ties to hold something in place down here on the bottom. Up on the top of the frame, it has the antenna mount, and it has the cable holder here. Now, if you're going to use this, I recommend you use some grommets because this carbon fiber will tear up your cables pretty quick. And I'll put a link to some grommets that I used in the description, and also tell you the size in case the link doesn't work because I got them off eBay. It also has 2 little zip tie holes up here on the top where you could run to hold your video transmitter in place, where you could run the zip tie through there to hold the video transmitter in place. It also has 2 holes here and 2 holes here that could be used for battery straps. And most of the time I only use 1 battery strap, but this could actually use 2 if you wanted it to. So here's my only other quad that can run 6-inch props. This is the ZMR250. And you can see the front to back is just a little bit longer on the TC-R260 than it is on the ZMR250. It's actually 155 between these two, where these are actually 160. This one here is 200, and this one is actually about 205 millimeters between the front arms. So the ZMR250 is a little bit wider. The length on this body is about 185. This one here is about 160, and that's starting from right back here to the very front. 160, 185, 160. So this is the TC-R260. I also have an alien frame that's supposed to be able to run 6-inch props coming soon, and I'm having a little bit of a debate with myself which one I want to build out. I have some DYS motors that I'm going to be reviewing and putting on one of these frames with 6-inch props. Probably start with 5-inch props just because I have a lot of 5-inch props. But I'm going to be building out one of these frames. It's either going to be this TC-R260 or an alien frame with 6-inch props. So anyway, this is the TC-R260. If you have any questions about this, you can leave them in the comments. If you have any opinions about if I should build this one or the alien frame, leave those in the comments too, and we'll see what people think. Your opinions may or may not influence my decision. We'll see. But anyway, this is the TC-R260 from Banggood. If you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments and I'll try to help you out as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.